as it goes. And I have to be honest with you. I don't really know that this goes in any way that is positive. You're gonna see a lot of people today cheering on Iran's missile attack on Israel. You're gonna see people, coming together around Israel, in particular, and nothing good is coming of this at all. I think it represents an expansion to the conflict. And for those of you who are unaware of what is happening, Iran launched a massive missile strike all across Israel. Literally, like, the map of where the air raid sirens are going off in Israel is all of it. It's like all of it. So, to say that this is an escalation is a bit of an understatement. This is, I think that whereas before, Iran was like, hey, we're gonna bomb, but, hey, we're gonna bomb at this time. We're gonna have, like, X many missiles, prepare to intercept. We're basically doing this to save face. This is not being done to save face, per se. This is an escalation into potential all-out war. We aren't quite there. We aren't quite at all-out war yet, but I do not trust the Israeli government to stand down. I do not trust them to de-escalate. I think that this is exactly what they want. I think that this is exactly what Netanyahu and the Likud party have had wet dreams about for the last several decades. And they're finally getting what they want. Doesn't matter that it's going to be catastrophic for the people of Israel. Doesn't matter that it's going to be catastrophic for the people in every country in the Middle East. It is well and truly popped off now. Do you think they will use nukes now? No. I do think that is maybe the one line that they still know that they cannot cross. Like, I genuinely, like, if Israel did use a nuclear weapon, I think they would instantly lose whatever support. I don't think even the United States could support that. Don't identify yourself with corrupt governments. Identify yourself with those they are. Harm? True. The Israeli government has been so measured, yeah. And Lily loves stuff. It is actually quite true that Iran, relatively, has shown a lot of restraint, while Israel has continued to escalate. My state is underwater, and now this. Yeah, I'm sorry, Ryla. It is well and truly effed right now. Here is some footage that the IDF themselves put out of the missiles flying over Israel. As you can tell, many of them are not being intercepted. So this is going to be, well, I mean, frankly, guys, they are striking Israel in, a lot of locations, including in Tel Aviv.
Okay, guys, we got to get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here.
Like,
they're coming down. One just about. We got to go inside.
Looks like the Iron Dome is being saturated. Well, keep in mind, the Iron Dome is also only designed to shoot down relatively slow-moving rockets, the likes of which Hamas can build in, like, basement workshops, you know? They are not designed... The Iron Dome is not designed to shoot down full-blown missiles that have any degree of, like, speed to them, generally speaking. They just carpet bombed the entirety of Israel. Okay, well, you need to learn what carpet bombing is, because that is not, in fact, true. Carpet bombing is a very different thing. But also, yeah, we're in a new phase of the conflict here. I mean, like, guys, this is it's a lot. You can see some of them are being intercepted, but most are not. Yeah, this is going to be really, really... I have no words for how bad this is going to be. I just... Now, this has also revealed some interesting information about where exactly Israel has a lot of its military targets. Because, to be clear, a lot of these missiles do seem to be aimed specifically at military targets throughout Israel, as in, like, military bases, military headquarters, etc., across Israel. However, you might notice that a similar piece of rhetoric that Israel has constantly used to justify its attacks in densely populated areas might apply to what Iran is doing. Here's CNN.
The U.S. intel view that among the targets were Israeli airfields, but also, and this is crucial, the headquarters of Mossad, the International Intelligence Service of Israel, which is inside Tel Aviv. It's in the northern part of Tel Aviv, but it's in the city. It's in a densely populated area. And of course, the concern is if you're firing, even though Iran might consider that a military target, it is in a densely populated city with civilians around it. And that's just one more layer of escalation. The U.S.
Gee whiz, where have we heard countless justifications for striking supposed military targets in densely populated civilian centers? I wonder. For the past year, in fact. But I am going to be consistent here. I do think that if Iran is blowing up civilians, that is also bad. It also means that they are poorly choosing their targets. It also means that they are doing something that is, in fact, evil. You know, it is easy to hold the position that killing civilians in a conflict is bad. I don't understand the constant tripping into this as if it's a pitfall. You know? And I mean, like, some of the videos coming out are absolutely just leave me speechless. According to Seamus from The Intercept, this is apparently a video from Nevatim Air Base. This area was struck in April by Iran, and Israel showed footage that was like, oh, look, it's just superficial damage. Because again, back in April, Iran telegraphed their attack. It was on back channels talking with Israel and the United States. It telegraphed the attacks. It wasn't intended to cause actual damage. Okay? So, this is what the current strike looks like.
المطار راح يا ولاد راح المطار راح مطار نفتيم راح يا رب يا ولاد مطار نفتيم راح يا رب يا الله في واحد تبدل فوق يا ولاد اسمه يا ربا يا الله يا نادم ادم دير 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 المطار.
Yeah. The biggest thing we learned today is that Iran can definitely hit targets in Israel. Yeah, I mean, I feel like anyone who was doubting that really didn't know what they were talking about. And frankly, the United States has committed itself to aiding and intercepting a lot of these attacks. What I'm really worried about right now, guys, is that if the United States puts boots on the ground in Israel, we're in like another 20-year-long war. You know, we're suddenly in a much longer and probably the most expensive conflict we've been in modern history. There is no good outcome for the United States going to war with Iran. I don't think we do. I mean, it really depends on what Israel does, doesn't it? You know? So much of this hangs on what Israel does, and it is, frankly, really scary to me, because there is no de-escalation in Israel's system at the moment. Biden won't do that? Are you fucking kidding me? Joe Biden has had a boner for wanting to go to war with Iran for like 30 years. It's like the only thing that still gets him up in the morning. So genuinely, I do not know that is an option that is off the table. More like 50 years? Honestly, yeah. Also, yeah, in case you're wondering, hey, where are all of these? Per the New York Times, Iran is specifically targeting military bases and intelligence headquarters. IDF have facilities embedded all over civilian neighborhoods in and near Tel Aviv. And, yeah. Weird. Weird, that.
We've got breaking news upon breaking news upon breaking news this hour. This is the last one coming into us just now. The Israeli military says that Iran has launched a missile from Iran into the territory of the State of Israel. We're now looking at live pictures of what may be, and I'm going to see if I can get confirmation of this in my earpiece, of what may be a missile possibly launched by Iran. We are seeing the live shots over the skies of Tel Aviv right now. So for context, for viewers who are just joining us, it is 16:38 GMT. You're watching the skies over Tel Aviv of what may be, but I'm not in a position to confirm this right now, an Iranian missile or multiple Iranian missiles aimed at Tel Aviv. The context around this is that about 2 hours ago, a U.S. official let it be known that Iran was preparing an imminent ballistic missile attack.
Yeah, and keep in mind, folks, like, last time this happened, Iran telegraphed this hours upon hours before. Like, it was like 12 hours prior. This is based seemingly entirely upon American intelligence identifying the preparations for the attack and then communicating that to Israel. There has been no telegraphing this time.
On Israel.
Yeah, also go subscribe to Drop Site News. One of the best in the biz. Yeah, I mean, again, some of the videos coming out of this have been absolutely Insane. Also, welcome Raiders. My name's Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, do the things. You know what to do. It is a bad day today. Let's just put it that way, okay? It's a very bad day. I don't think that this will escalate to, you know, World War III or anything, but a regional war absolutely is on the table. Absolutely. I mean, guys, Israel is not just going to be like, oh, okay, you know, that's a fair tit for tat. A lot of these are hitting their targets. Like, this is maybe worst case scenario. Yeah. And again, for Raiders, in case you haven't seen some of this.
راح المطار راح مطار لفتيم راح يا رب.
I mean, the Iron Dome is great at what it does, which is intercepting, like, small-scale missiles, you know, small rockets. It is not good at intercepting, you know, ballistic missiles.
يا ولاد مطار رفتيم راح يا رب يا الله. يا رب يا الله يا لا ما دير المطار.
Yeah, it's bad, folks. Here, we're gonna watch the Pentagon press briefing on this.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for your patience for the delayed start time today. Just a couple things here at the top, and then we'll get right to your questions. As you're aware, Iran conducted a significant attack against Israel today, launching approximately 200 ballistic missiles targeting several locations in Israel. We condemn these reckless attacks by Iran, and we call on Iran to halt any further attacks, including from its proxy forces. During the attack, the U.S. military coordinated closely with the Israeli Defense Forces to help defend Israel. U.S. Navy destroyers deployed to the Middle East region supported the defense of Israel by firing approximately a dozen interceptors against the incoming Iranian missiles. Initial reports indicate that Israel was able to intercept the majority of incoming missiles and that there was minimal damage on the ground, but I'd refer you to Israel for confirmation and any questions on that as they're in a better position to discuss. Please note that we're still assessing the attack and the outcome, so numbers may change as we receive updates. Additionally, no U.S. personnel were injured or harmed during the Iranian missile attack. Secretary Austin, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General C.Q. Brown Jr., and U.S. Central Command Commander General Eric Kurilla have been in constant contact with President Biden and Vice President Harris throughout the day to consult on the situation and U.S. actions. In addition to his phone call earlier this morning with Israeli Minister of Defense Gallant prior to the Iranian attack, Secretary Austin spoke to the minister.
I mean, ballistic missiles are basically just missiles that are effective at delivering an explosive payload across long distances. And they will typically go a lot faster than just a rocket. Yeah. ICBMs are the largest variation of these. Intercontinental ballistic missiles. But yeah, when we're talking about a missile attack from Iran, okay, here, let's just bring up a map here. So if you look at this map, you might notice that Iran is a long ways away from Israel. So in order to launch the types of missiles, the types of munitions that they need to actually hit Israel, they need to use ballistic missiles because that is what has the range to hit their target. Yeah. They are using short-range ballistic missiles. True, John Thomas.
Again, just a short while ago to get an update. He reaffirmed the United States' ironclad commitment to the defense of Israel and underscored that the U.S. remains well-postured throughout the Middle East region to protect U.S. forces and defend Israel in the face of threats from Iran and Iran-backed terrorist organizations. We'll provide a readout of that call as soon as possible. To be crystal clear, as Secretary Austin has said, should Iran, its partners, or its proxies use this moment to target American personnel or interests in the region, the United States will take every necessary measure to defend our people. And separately, I do have an update to provide on DoD support to Hurricane Helene response efforts, but I'll provide that at the end. With that, I'm happy to take your questions. We'll start with AP. Tara.
Thanks, General Ryder. What Navy does...
Yeah, we weren't saying they were ICBMs. Someone in chat asked what ballistic missiles were. I was just answering a question. Let's not be pedantic here.
Destroyers were involved in helping shoot down and intercept. And given this escalation, what's being communicated between Secretary Austin and Minister Gallant right now in terms of tampering things down and potentially avoiding a wider war?
So the two Navy destroyers involved were the USS Bulkley and the USS Cole. In terms of the conversations between Secretary Austin and Minister Gallant, I won't get into the private discussions other than to say we are consulting closely with them on next steps and the continued defense of Israel.
And then, are there any plans underway to conduct a NEO given the increased risk of a wider war?
Right now, there has been no order to evacuate. As you've heard us say before, we are a planning organization, so we, of course, plan for all contingencies. But as of right now, State Department has not called for an evacuation. Jennifer.
Should we assume that the SM-3s were used by the Cole and the Bulkley to shoot down or to intercept the missiles?
I'm not going to get into the specific type of ordnance, Jennifer, other than to say, again, they fired a dozen interceptors.
And Iran said that they gave a heads up to the U.S. and to Russia. How much warning
Oh, okay. I was unaware of that. All right.
were you given by Iran?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any pre-warning by Iran about their potential attack. As you know, this is something we've been
maybe not then
following very closely for a while, based on the threats of retaliation by Iran. And so we've been closely consulting with Israel for a while now to be prepared in the eventuality. And as today demonstrated, we were prepared and we were able to successfully work alongside Israel to defend them from this attack. Let me go to Carla.
Thanks, Pat. You said that the destroyers shot down Iranian missiles. Where do they come from? Were they all from inside Iran, or was some also from Yemen being shot by the Houthis?
Carla, to my knowledge, and again, we're still assessing this, these were all launched from Iran, ballistic missiles. And what I said was that they fired the interceptors towards those missiles. So.
And then were any other U.S. assets involved in this defense?
Of course, we have a lot of capability in the region, a lot of things that are there to be prepared for a wide variety of threats. But in terms of the launching of these interceptors, it was those two destroyers.
So just being clear, no ground-based interceptors were used in this.
Correct.
Were the were you aware of any duds that didn't fire off that maybe Iran wanted to fire more than the Roughly 200?
As I mentioned, we're still assessing the outcome of the attack, and so we'll have much more information later. But these are all, our initial reports.
And then on the second call with the Secretary and Minister Gallant, did he urge Israel not to respond or to moderate any response to Iran? Or
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the answer to this question is no.
did Gallant share any of Israeli intentions for their potential response here?
Well, again, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm just not going to be able to get into the details of their call, other than to say, again, we're consulting closely about next steps and the continued defense of Israel.
What does Secretary Austin think about the potential for an Israeli response here? Would he urge them without saying what he said in the call?
Yeah, Emma H. Stream chat is on riverboat.gg.
Necessarily, but what are his feelings about the potential? Would he urge them restraint or?
Well, look, if you take a step back here, we fully support Israel's right to defend itself. You just saw a very significant ballistic missile attack by Iran against Israel. And so, we'll continue to work alongside them to support their defense. We, of course, do not want to see a wider regional conflict. You've heard us say that many times, and we'll continue to work towards that end. But we also fully understand the fact that this was a significant attack by Iran, and so we're going to continue to consult closely, and we're going to continue to support their defense. Let me go to Laura.
Thank you. Just a couple of clarifications. You say that the U.S. destroyers had intercepted or shot down the missiles, or just that they fired?
I said that they fired approximately a dozen interceptors against the incoming Iranian missiles.
And were there any U.S. aircraft that shot interceptors at Iranian missiles?
What I've read out is what participated in the defense of Israel. Okay.
And then,
By the way, as we speak, Donald Trump is giving a speeches in Pennsylvania, I believe. And he said, quote, "The world is on fire and spiraling out of control. We have no leadership. No one is running the country. We have a non-existent president in Joe Biden and a completely absent vice president, Kamala Harris." He added that Iran was in check when he was president. Ugh.
And just one more. Can you say if there were any drones?
There's literally no good that comes out of this for anyone involved.
Cruise missiles that were involved in the
again, still assessing it right now. It appears it was ballistic missiles, no drones, but again, we'll continue to assess. Let me go to Joseph, and then we'll come here.
Thank you. Just wanted to turn to the Israeli invasion in Lebanon. For the past couple of months, the department and the secretary have called for de-escalation. You guys have voiced your opposition to any ground incursion, invasions, limited operations. After we found out that the Israeli strike last week killed the Hezbollah chief, Hassan Nasrallah, it seems like the tone changed. From the statements last night, the department and the secretary said they supported what Israel is doing. So what changed for a change in that tone and that stance from the department?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Joseph, is we fully support Israel's right to defend itself against Hezbollah. As we understand it, they will be conducting limited operations to destroy Hezbollah infrastructure that's arrayed along the border there that could be used to threaten Israeli citizens.
Again, to me, this does not make sense as a plan to handle Lebanon and Hezbollah in general. Like, okay, so you're going to destroy infrastructure there, and then you're going to leave? You're just going to leave the southern Lebanon? Because you already have Israeli lobbying groups pushing for settlements in southern Lebanon. You already have people trying to sell real estate in southern Lebanon. You also know that Hezbollah can just come back and do the same things, right? Like, there's nothing that prevents them from doing that unless you're planning to annex southern Lebanon.
Citizens, and so we're continuing to consult with the Israelis to better understand how they intend to go forward. Obviously, I'd refer you to them to talk.
Yeah, I talked about it at length yesterday, Tired and Trans, but yeah, the movement for settlement in southern Lebanon is a new settler group in Israel. Yeah. They put out a statement saying, after the elimination of the Hezbollah leadership, do you dream of owning a big house, a view of snowy mountains, and a warm community in the land of our ancestors? Yeah. It has grown in the last couple months to around 3,000 members strong. So...
or ask questions about, details regarding those operations.
See you, Dragonfly.
But, we fully understand as part of their overall efforts to return people home that they do need to address those threats that are along the border there. And so all that to say, we will continue to consult with the Israelis and other partners in the region long term about how we can ultimately de-escalate those tensions and get to a ceasefire.
Also, Al Jazeera is reporting that 3 Tel Aviv military bases were the target of the attack, according to Iran. The barrage was accompanied by a large-scale cyber attack, and the missile system also made use of the new Fatah hypersonic ballistic missiles for the first time. So, there is probably an element here of Iran continuing to test Israel's defenses for potential larger scale attacks down the road. I said initially that maybe this was like a point of no return, but this does also seem to be in keeping with a certain level of restraint. So earlier I said this might be all-out war because we're not quite there yet, but I think officially we are not quite there yet. But Iran is leaving itself even less room to wiggle when it comes to this type of negotiation that's ongoing in the geopolitical sphere.
They asked for any help from you guys doing whatever it is that they want to do?
No. Yes, sir.
Were the United States surprised by the scale of the Iranian attack on Israel?
Well, look, like I said before, we've been monitoring this for a while. Iran had been very public about its threats to retaliate, and so it's something that we've been monitoring. Certainly, this was a significant attack, probably about twice the size in terms of scope of what we saw earlier. But again, we're still assessing the outcomes of this. And as I highlighted at the top, we certainly condemn this reckless attack, this direct attack against.
Oh, okay. But Rondo, you know that there's a difference between a hypersonic missile and a ballistic missile, right? Do I have to every time I name drop a weapon, do I have to stop and explain it? Yeah, hypersonic missiles travel at similar speeds to ballistic missiles. However, hypersonic missiles can actually maneuver at the speeds that they're moving, meaning that they don't follow the same type of trajectory path as a ballistic missile, meaning that they're a lot harder to intercept. There you go. From now on, I'm just going to explain every single piece of weaponry that I drop, that I name drop, okay? Because I cannot with you guys getting up my ass about the specific military terminology.
Israel, and we'll continue to support Israel's defense.
Several Israeli media spoke about a response tonight, Israeli response tonight to this attack, including some, not just Iran, some other Middle Eastern countries. Will the United States be assisting the Israelis in their response?
Well, I'm not going to speculate about hypotheticals. I'd refer you to the Israelis to talk about,
I'm asking about, will the Americans help them with their response?
Well, what you're asking me is if they're going to do something, and what I'm saying is I'm not going to speculate about what or if they may do. As I highlighted to several of your colleagues, we're consulting.
I want to be clear, there's literally nothing about creating a hypersonic missile that would be outside of Iran's current capabilities. I see no reason to doubt them on this particular issue, and they've been claiming to have one for the past 2 years. So,
closely with the Israelis in terms of next steps, with the emphasis being the defense of Israel. So let me go to this side of the room. Oren.
Essentially, a follow-up to that question: is the U.S. willing to strike Iran in response to this? Are you putting that on or off the table?
Well, look, Garnett, again, I don't want to get into hypotheticals. I think I was very clear at the top that should U.S. forces be targeted by Iran or its proxies, we'll take necessary steps to defend our people. And I think we've also been very clear that we're going to support the defense of Israel. And so I'm not going to get into theoretical or speculative operations at this stage, other than to say, we mean what we say and we say what we mean.
And then a follow-up question. Iran claims to have used a new Fatah missile, which is supposed to be a hypersonic ballistic missile. Can you assess whether they did use new and advanced weaponry in this attack and whether they learned from the April attack?
Again, we're still assessing the attack and the outcomes, and so we may have more to provide later, but I don't have anything on that right now. Dan.
Also, can we just take a moment to look at the cringe that was posted by Ayatollah Khamenei? Is this, I genuine question, is this AI art? Can any of you help me determine, is this AI art? Because to me, it kind of looks like it, It kind of looks like AI art. I don't know for sure, but he just posted this with the message "imminent divine victory," and I just this looks silly as hell. Yeah, I don't know. Iran needs to stop investing in AI technology and hire real artists for its propaganda, okay?
Thanks for your time. 2 questions, please. On Secretary Austin's statement last night, he referred to being supportive of operations along the border. Is he open to Israel using operations on both sides of the border? Along the border was a little vague there.
Well, I think I'd go back to how I responded to Joseph, right? We understand and support Israel's right to defend itself against Hezbollah, as we highlighted in the readout. We understand that part of that is dismantling some of the attack infrastructure that Hezbollah has built along the border. Certainly, again, we don't want to see this, broaden into a wider regional conflict, but we understand, again, that what Israel is doing are limited operations to destroy that attack infrastructure and then enable citizens on both sides of the border to return home. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we do think that a diplomatic resolution is the only way to achieve lasting stability and security across the Israel-Lebanon border. So, we're going to continue to work to that end. But we also, again, understand Israel's need to defend itself.
And then a follow. The State Department read out a report on an attack on a diplomatic facility at Baghdad Airport last night. Have you seen any other attacks on U.S. forces, I guess, since Friday? This one would seem to be on a diplomatic facility, but be it in the last day, particularly at this heightened time of tension, or just broadly over the last couple of days?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm not aware of any additional attacks. Thanks. Sir.
The Iron Dome, how effective is it against ballistic missiles? And some of the televised images appeared to show some of them landing on infrastructure. Are you aware of that? In general, was this attack more effective than the Iranian attack in April?
Again, understanding that a lot is still very initial. As I highlighted, initial indications are that there was minimal damage on the ground. In terms of the specifics, though, I'd have to refer you to Israel really to talk through that. And again, as more information comes in, we'll certainly know more. But
you guys understand why I'm deeply, deeply worried about how there is no ability to de-escalate this, right? You guys get this, right? This is from 4 minutes ago. White House says Biden will ensure severe consequences for Iran after Israel rocket attack. There is no de-escalating mechanic here. Hell, we're not even evacuating U.S. citizens from Lebanon.
Initial assessment is that Israel was able to successfully defend itself, of course, with the support from the U.S. And so, again, we may have more later on that. Helene?
Thanks, Pat. I just want to be clear because it seems like we're at a very dangerous time where any kind of ambiguity from the U.S. could lead to an attack on American troops. And when you say I understand when you say that we're going to defend any attack on American troops. I also understand that that you said that no American troops were hurt. Therefore, are you saying the U.S. is not planning on a kinetic strike against Iran? Because right now, when you say there will be consequences, all of that, you're leaving it vague, and people don't understand. And I want to understand: are we going?
Honestly, this is a completely fair question. This is where I'm at right now.
To be joining Israel in hitting back against Iran in a kinetic manner?
Yeah, so with all due respect, you're talking about a hypothetical future, right? And presupposing.
You're engaging in hypotheticals, reporter lady. Don't you know that's a debate bro tactic? Are you trying to debate bro me right now? That's an insane response. Are you kidding me? She's asking you, are we going to be going to war with Iran? And your response is, with all due respect, you're engaging in hypotheticals right now. It's like, no, we're asking you. You're one of the people in charge of the military. We're asking you. Are we going to go to war with Iran? Is that on the table? Are you taking it off the table? We would like to know.
What Israel may or may not do. So I'm just not going to talk about.
You're the one with direct ties to the Israeli military apparatus. Is Israel planning a retaliatory strike that could embroil the region in all-out war? We would like to know.
There will be consequences, and Jake Sullivan said there will be consequences. So
right,
what does
and
that
I think
mean?
broadly speaking, the U.S. has been clear that there will be security, economic consequences should Iran attack, but I just don't have anything to preview, specifically as it relates.
1 minute ago, reported by Al Jazeera, Iran's president says this action was in defense of the interests and citizens of Iran. Let Netanyahu know that Iran does not seek war, but it stands firmly against any threat. Do not enter into a conflict with Iran. So this is basically the geopolitical equivalent of saying, we good now. As far as I'm concerned, we good. Don't fuck with us anymore. This is like the rattlesnake rattling its tail. Don't fuck with it anymore.
Relates to that. All right. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah, also, it's great. Exactly. What economic response? We already sanctioned them. We gave up any wiggle room on that. Biden didn't reestablish the Iran nuclear deal. There is no, what are you going to do?
Just to clarify, did any U.S. aircraft track any of the missiles either before the launch or during the attack, even if they weren't involved kinetically in the defense of Israel?
So I won't go into specifics, Chris.
God, I hate that their questions can't be more direct. They have to be like, are we going to respond kinetically?
Other than to say, as you well know, we have a wide variety of ISR capabilities throughout the region to monitor and track potential aerial threats, to include aircraft that do that. So I'll just leave it there. Okay. Charlie.
Thank you, General. I know you said repeatedly that Iran doesn't telegraph these attacks, yet from early this morning we were told that an attack would be imminent, so we're getting some sort of information from somewhere. Based on whatever that was based on, where does Iran stand now? Is this just the first salvo? From your assessment, are they positioned to go ahead and pull the trigger again at will?
We could respond
I mean, that's really a question for Iran. As evidenced by
the okay. I, the reporter, I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. All of the Iranian press briefings we can attend. Yeah, I'll just go fuck myself instead of getting an answer to my question.
This attack, they certainly maintain the capability to conduct additional attacks, as I highlighted at the top. We're calling on them to halt any further attacks, and we'll continue to assess. We'll also continue to be prepared to respond in the defense of Israel should they opt to do another one. We certainly hope that they do not, but we obviously have to be prepared in that eventuality.
I just want to clarify, I think you said earlier this is twice the size and scope from the attack of April 13th?
Yeah, it's about twice as large in terms of the number of ballistic missiles that they launched from the last.
I believe it was their intent to actually do damage this time?
Well, look, you don't launch that many missiles at a target without the intent of hitting something. So,
yeah, like it's twice as large to send twice as large of a message. Like this is not like the full capability and scope of the Iranian military. They can launch a lot more missiles than this, guys.
Oh, absolutely. Just like the last time, their intent is to cause destruction. And so, fortunately, Israel has very significant air defense capabilities, and the U.S., of course, played a role in helping on that front as well. Thank you. Matt?
Thanks, Pat. You said there have been no new attacks on U.S. forces in the region, but is the department tracking a greater threat now to U.S. forces, and are you taking any extra measures on top of the recent plus-ups you've done for force protection?
Keep your head up, okay?
Well, Matt, I mean, as you know, we're always taking force protection very seriously. We're all very well aware of the heightened tensions in the region, and U.S. Central Command has been, for a long time now, constantly assessing and reassessing the threat to ensure that our forces are protected. Like I mentioned, I'm not aware, as I come to the podium, I'm not aware of any additional attacks beyond the one that Dan mentioned, but it's something that we'll obviously be keeping a close eye on to protect our forces.
Secondly, were there any other nations other than the United States and Israel who took part in intercepting missiles or helping to track them or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't have anything to provide on that, and obviously I wouldn't speak for other countries from here. Yes, sir.
General, I'd like to ask you if you guys talked to the European allies and if you asked for military support in protection.
Yeah, 16 hours ago, we sent out more troops, warplanes, etc. to the Middle East, specifically to counter any action from Iran.
Protecting Israel in case of another attack from Israel or the proxies, or is at the moment it's only the U.S. Helping Israel military-wise?
Well, I'll allow other countries to speak for themselves. I will say, and we'll put a readout on this this afternoon, as soon as we're done here. The Secretary did have an opportunity to talk to his French counterpart earlier this morning, just to talk about the situation in the Middle East. This was before the Iranian attack occurred, and so, we'll get that out momentarily. Broadly speaking, though, again, in terms of any European coordination or cooperation with Israel, that's really for individual countries to talk to. I won't speak to them. Let me go to the phone real quick before I get in trouble. Task and Purpose, Jeff Schogel.
Thank you. I understand that the destroyers fired about a dozen interceptors. Did they hit any of the missiles? If so, how many?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So again, we're, as you highlight, they fired the interceptors. We're still assessing, again, outcomes of that. So I can't really, I just don't have more information to provide at this time. Okay, let me go to Heather from USNI.
Hi, thank you so much. So you mentioned that the United States has the ability and intent to respond if any of its service members are attacked. Over on Friday, you had 2 U.S. destroyers.
Yeah, IDF is saying that they are going to respond, saying we will choose when to exact the price and prove our precise and surprising attack capabilities in accordance with the guidance of the political echelon. So, yeah, I don't know that there is a de-escalating element in any of this within Israel. I do think that there is reluctance on the part of Iran to engage in a full-throated conflict. I don't think they want that. I think that they rightly calculate that it will be devastating for all involved. But I don't think that any of the political powers that be in Israel are willing to stand down.
Whereas in a LCS come under attack from the Houthis, it doesn't, which is an Iranian proxy group. So would that give, is there any intention to launch any attacks in response to those service members coming under attack?
Well, first of all, Heather, as you are aware, there were no U.S. service members injured in any of those attacks. And as always, we will respond appropriately at a time and place of our choosing, but I'm not going to telegraph or speculate on any punches at this time. All right, and Patrick Tucker, Defense One.
Hey, thanks for doing this. So on the announcement of 3 additional aircraft squadrons, F-15s, F-16s, A-10s, I presume that they weren't involved in any of the interception activity. Can you talk a little?
Again, Celestial Heart, even if Israeli citizens removed Netanyahu and removed the war cabinet, the entire Likud party is so radicalized that it would not matter. You could get new people in charge, they would still be 90% as committed to the slaughter that is happening and will continue to happen compared to their predecessors. There really is, outside of long-term coalition building among left-leaning groups and individuals in Israel, that over the next 30 years, barring that, there's not really a mechanism for change right now in Israel outside of U.S. pressure. That is literally the only thing right now that could get Israel to stand down. And if you'll notice, we in America don't have our shit together as leftists either, so we don't really have a huge, moral high ground here.
A little bit about why they're there and what role they might fill now in terms of enhancing security for U.S. forces in the region.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we've been highlighting for a while, we have a robust amount of capability in the Central Command and U.S. European Command regions. And what those capabilities provide us is versatility in terms of responding to a variety of contingencies. And so, basically having the right tools in the toolkit to be able to respond appropriately to any type of attack.
I had therapy at 3. What the absolute hell is going on? Did Iran actually launch, or is the U.S. just saying they will?
Oh, no, Foxbat. Iran launched and hit parts of Tel Aviv. So, approximately 200 ballistic missiles were fired by Iran. Again, for those who did not see, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Allah!
Yeah.
راح يا ولاد راح.
Yeah.
راح المطار راح مطار مفاتيم راح. يا رب. يا ولاد مطار مفاتيم راح. يا رب. يا الله. Yeah.
Okay, and to be clear, predominantly they appear to have targeted military sites. For example, this is footage of an airbase in Israel being struck. So military targets were predominantly what was hit. But yeah, it's not good, to say the least.
Or contingency situation. And so, as you well know...
What did Iran hit in Tel Aviv? Several military bases in the area. They also targeted headquarters for, Mossad, which are in, Tel Aviv.
Pat, fighter aircraft can perform a variety of missions to include.
Well, Akumi, like I know this kind of gets buried a lot, but Iran is a rational geopolitical actor. You know, they don't have a death wish. You know, they might be like a fundamentalist theocracy, but they're not like they don't have like a fascist death wish to them, as far as I can tell. I'm not an expert on Iran, but they don't have like this. They're authoritarian, but they're not like committed to death cult mentalities. You know. So has the U.S. actually issued evacuation orders yet? Nope.
Taking down drones, taking down missiles, particular kinds of missiles, as well as...
How come we never hear the extent of the damage done when military targets, but always we hear the horrific details about civilian deaths? Well, one, we do hear about damage to military targets, but two, because the military targets that get targeted, the military that owns those targets, they don't want to, like, divulge how much damage was actually done. You know, like that... They don't want to telegraph to their enemies how successful their attack was. Like, you don't send your general out to do a press briefing and they're like, yeah, they completely fucked our shit up. Yep, 90% of our stuff is gone. We're really fucked right here. Like that's just not what your military commanders are gonna do.
Providing ISR, electronic warfare, and
in comparison, it's a lot easier to say, those evil bastards killed 200 civilians. That's a lot easier to do.
Types of capabilities. So all of this comes together to provide us with options on how best to respond to...
Do you think we're going to be drafted soon? No. Literally, Sophie Bliss in YouTube chat really explains it. Like, a draft would really only happen at this point in like a world war. Like if the nukes were flying, then we'd have a draft.
Any type of attack and to protect our forces. Let me come back to the room here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, General. First, on Iran, after today's attack and the expected response from Israel, is the assessment at the Pentagon still that the situation in the Middle East still under control and we're not in all-out war yet? And the second question on Lebanon, excuse me, what's your understanding to what Israel is calling limited ground operations or incursion? Is it limited by, like, in time, in scope? How do you see this?
Sure. So in terms of your first question, as you know, we've been working very hard from the beginning to prevent a wider regional conflict. Certainly the type of aggressive action that we saw by Iran today makes that more challenging. But that continues to remain our focus and remain our goal, is to prevent a wider regional conflict. And so we'll continue to stay laser focused on that. In terms of Israel's operations, again, they're in the best position to answer questions. But our understanding in consulting with them is that, again, these will be limited operations focused on dismantling.
No. If you are severely mentally ill, they're not gonna take you in a draft.
Facilities that Hezbollah has built along the border to stage attacks into Israel. And so, part of those discussions, again, have been focused on...
Like, let me be clear, like, Iran is a rational state actor. That doesn't make them a good state actor. Like, there's a difference between those two things, and it is pretty wild that Iran is being the bigger nation over and over and over again.
Making sure that there's an understanding as far as potential mission creep. And so as it relates to the broad...
Well, no, Derek IT Pro, here's how I think of it, right? On every single issue, Kamala Harris is better than Joe Biden. And on top of that, Kamala Harris is not ideologically anything. She is not ideologically a Zionist. Joe Biden is. Joe Biden is not someone who will move or budge on that position. He will not put any pressure on Israel whatsoever. Kamala Harris is not married to that political position, and it's very clear from anyone who is any kind of political analyst that, like, it would behoove her to move on this issue. You know, it's not good to alienate your voters to the extent that Joe Biden is doing when it comes to this particular issue. And I think Kamala Harris moves where the wind blows, you know, and that is both a pro and a con. But in this particular instance, on this particular issue, it is undeniably a much better thing. But she still works for Joe Biden? Yeah. Also, the people who quit the State Department all list Kamala Harris as the most sympathetic person in a position of power. So, there we go. Are we here till the debate? I don't know. Maybe. Sophie Bliss, thank you for gifting a membership over on YouTube. I very much appreciate it. So, and if she takes Obama's old team, they have experience with Iran in a positive way. That's where my hope is setting in. Well, yeah, again, people who have left the State Department over, like, the U.S.'s handling of Gaza list Kamala Harris as someone who is the most sympathetic in the administration, and also the people that she wants to bring in to handle her foreign policy are people who are known to have given analyses of the region, of the geopolitical situation, that point out that the U.S. needs to pressure Israel into coming to a ceasefire deal. So I think that a lot of this is stuff that she can and will move on. The indications are there, but also she works for Joe Biden. She can't come out and say, yeah, the guy I work for is doing a piss poor job on this particular issue. She needs institutional Democratic support to win this. She can't alienate that support by bad-mouthing Biden. And on top of that, Benjamin Netanyahu's a crazy person. He is unhinged. He's willing to do anything and everything to avoid going to prison for fraud. So if he sees that the next likely president of the United States is not someone who's going to just, like, unilaterally back him and all of his actions, no matter what, he might do the most escalatory actions, you know? That is fully within his power, and that would be devastating for both the people who live in the region and the political outlook in the United States. So, that's my 2 cents on that issue.
Broader tensions in the region, but again, we support their right to defend themselves from Hezbollah attacks, and so we'll continue to consult with them on that. As I mentioned, Wafa, ultimately, we do believe that a diplomatic resolution is the only way to achieve lasting stability and security.
I used your line to own a
Take
term.
a few more.
Nice. Thank you for the $5 dono.
Phil.
A couple small questions. One is, why weren't land-based air defenses used? And did you find that you had, did the United States have fewer partners in trying to knock down these Iranian missiles?
Well, Derek IT Pro, it actually is my job. I'm a politics communicator. I want to be able to explain the situation and empower your decision-making process. That is one of the core things that I think is deeply important about what I do. So you're very welcome. I'm glad I could help.
This time than I did in April.
I would compare it to a pallet, Phil. You're going to use the capability that you need to respond to a particular situation. So, I mean, as evidenced by the fact that our forces were able to so quickly support Israel's defense, we have a wide range of capabilities arrayed to be able to respond to whatever those threats may be in the most appropriate way possible. So it's less about the platform and it's more about the capability. And so, again, we still maintain a robust capability to be able to respond to any potential future threats as well.
And I just want to follow up on what Helene was asking, which was important in the sense, I think you said a red line that if Iran or its forces
Oh God. Okay, the U.S. State Department is calling for every nation on the planet to condemn Iran's attack. Okay.
Were to attack U.S. troops, there would be a U.S. response against Iran. At least that's what it sounded like you were saying. Is that correct?
What I said is it should be very clear that if Iran or its proxies use this as an opportunity to attack U.S. forces, we will respond appropriately. Yep. Okay. Last question. Nat.
Thanks, Pat. I just wanted to clarify a few things that you said. In terms of Iran's capabilities going forward, is it clear from the U.S. side that the imminent risk is over of another attack from Iran?
Well, look, it's something we're going to...
Okay, also, we are getting... One of the key points of difference between Israel and the U.S.'s claims and Iran's claims about the extent of this missile attack. Iran is currently claiming that 90% of the missiles they fired hit their targets. That's a very large number compared to not that many. Limited or mild damage. 90% of the missiles hit their target. I think if you kind of... even if you just are like, well, maybe it's somewhere in between... That's still a lot more than mild damage.
Keep an eye on. We certainly hope that there's not another attack, but obviously Iran maintains a capability, and it's just demonstrated that they're willing to use it to directly attack Israel. And so we're going to continue to consult closely with Israel on next steps, and importantly on the defense of Israel. So,
and on the Israel's limited incursion, have they provided any sort of a timeline on how long they would stay there?
I'd refer you to Israel to talk about that. I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to talk about that. Hey, folks, while there's been an understandable focus today on the Middle East, before we conclude, I would like to provide a quick update on a topic closer to home.
Also worth noting that according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa, Israel today conducted strikes throughout the Gaza Strip that killed 11 in a shelter at the Nuseirat refugee camp, 2 in a house in the same camp, 7 people in a tent west of Khan Yunis, 6 in a car west of Khan Yunis, and 3 in Musabeh, north of Rafah. So, yeah. 29 people killed in Gaza.
As DoD continues to work with federal, state, and local officials to support.
Okay, I can't do the topic justice of the flooding in North Carolina and on the East Coast right now. I can't handle that additional thing. Yeah, we are in. We're in a real end game situation. There's very little room left to maneuver on this particular topic. Really what is called for now is Israel to come to the negotiating table in good faith with, its adversaries. But it's not looking to do that. Unfortunately, it is, in fact, quite a ways from that point. I wish I had a rosy ending for this of how it could go okay, but we just don't have that. We don't have the luxury of having a happy ending to this horrible series of events. There's no de-escalation mechanism. I do not trust the powers that be in Israel to actually bring down the heat on this particular issue, and instead we're trapped in this hell of our own making. 35 days to the election, and the world may not make it. I do think that the United States would not support Israel launching nukes. So I do think that is what maybe one silver lining, that there's one line that the United States wouldn't cross for real. The entire international community wouldn't support that either. we're really in this position. If Trump were to get elected, there will 100% be an Israeli escalation. I mean, there's 100% going to be an Israeli escalation prior to the election. But if Trump got elected, he would put boots on the ground. He would put boots on the ground in Israel. We'd be at war with Iran for the next 50 years. That's just kind of where we're at.